Assalamu alaikum everybody. Welcome to today's episode of The Seeker. At Seekers Institute, we focus on the 7 F's. Those F's are faith, family, finance, fitness, future, friendship, and fun. And today we're going to have some fun while gaining some amazing insight into some of the other F's. My guest today will share some jokes, but more importantly, she'll talk about her amazing journey to transform her passion into her career. Should we give up everything for the sake of our passions? Or is there a way to find a practical approach to integrate them into our lives? We'll talk about this and more. Welcome back to The Seeker. I am your host, Arshad Anwar, and I am joined today with my guest, Yasmin Elhady. Assalamu alaikum, Yasmin. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Oh my God, I'm so excited to be here.
Well, you know what? I'm very excited because I do follow you on social media, and you have done some amazing things. And I just want, for the sake of our viewers, just tell them about yourself, what you do, and what's your hobbies.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for following me on social media. You're the best. Thank you for the support and the love. So really, I started the YasGuru platform as a relationship advice column, and kind of like a video vlog, and it took off from there. I think people really resonated with the fact that I was trying to address issues and start conversations that are difficult to have in our community, in the Muslim community. And I had a lot of non-Muslim followers as well, kind of like peeking into our world. Like, what do they do? And like, what does Muslim love look like? Yeah. So I kind of wanted to highlight that. I wanted to highlight the fact that we are so human, that we deal with the same challenges that everybody else does. Yeah. And that the platform would be such that anybody could ask a question or could get advice.
What were some of the things that were surprising you when you started this channel?
Well, I mean, the level of candor that people have with me, like a complete stranger, is astonishing. I thankfully understand confidentiality. You know, I'm an attorney by training, and so I respect people's confidentiality, but I'm flabbergasted at the level of detail that they will come into your DMs and they're really hurting, and they tell you everything. Yeah. And they want you to solve it, and you can't fix it, you know. And a lot of the times, you know, when I started the platform, I didn't think that would necessarily happen. That definitely is a big surprise, that people would lay out their heart like that. But a lot of the times, my job is really not to solve that problem. My job is to give them resources to say, hey, check out this therapist. You should look at a licensed clinical social worker. That might be good for you. That sounds like a lot of trauma. Maybe you should look into light therapy. Maybe you should look into somebody who's an addiction specialist on your particular issue. And, you know, don't give up, keep going. And I'm really there to provide hope. Yeah. And I started the platform as a ray of hope for people, so that if you're embarrassed about something, to not feel the shame. If you are confused and lost, to not feel alone. Yeah. And the hope, you know, by the grace of God, is that it will be a means of comfort, not just for Muslims, but for non-Muslims as well. Because I really believe that a lot of the principles that our faith has is so incredibly needed. You know, the Prophet ﷺ was sent as a mercy for all of mankind. We're not just supposed to keep them to ourselves.
No, absolutely. When you are fielding these questions from the Muslim community, are you getting this from a segment of the Muslim community that's maybe more younger, that has grown up in the United States? Or are you finding that there are also people, because we have an immigrant community as well.
Yes.
Are they open to these kinds of conversations?
I'm getting questions from Indonesia, South Africa. I get questions from all over the UK. I get questions from Australia. I mean, Belgium. There's a really strong follower of mine from Belgium, and, you know, one from Luxembourg, one from even from South America. Wow. But when I'm looking at the insights behind who's actually following me, it really is a majority of people from ages 24 to 35. That's the majority of the audience that tunes in, and it wasn't like purposeful. I just wanted to talk about relationships with people, and I wanted to give people a conversation starter. Yeah. And so I was, I'm kind of like looking back on it, like I was trying to write a love letter to myself at 23, because I got married when I was 23. I didn't have any support really in a constructive way. People were always like, oh, it's going to be fine. You're going to, marriage is hard. You'll get through it. But not like, this is what you should do. This is how you should communicate. Don't do this. And I didn't have that kind of targeted advice that I was like craving. So when I was doing YasGuru, I was trying to do like a love letter to myself when I was 23 to try to capture her and talk to her.
Well, one of the things you were describing is actually kind of the norm, right, in the Muslim community. We're not necessarily taught how to communicate. And it's not just the Muslim community, it's kind of a norm with young people in general.
With young people, yeah. They have a hard time carrying conversation, making eye contact, dealing. They can't deal.
Well, it multiplies with the Muslim community when you look at how our rules and regulations are taught.
Right.
And oftentimes, we package things, deliver them a certain way, but they can get in the way. Like for example, how to have a conversation with someone you're interested in.
Right.
Have you found that both men and women actually don't know how to do that very well?
They don't. They don't know how to talk to each other. They don't know the questions to ask each other. They don't even know when to get their parents involved, when not to. No. They are unsure about being vulnerable. A lot of them don't even want to have any emotional connection with someone because, hey, that's haram, that's prohibited. And I really try to push back on that a little bit. I'm like, where is it written that is prohibited to have an emotional connection with somebody? Why do you need to touch someone to have an emotional connection with them? Yeah. We have such deep emotional connections with people that teach us. We have deep emotional connection with people that that we respect in any kind of field that we never actually have physical contact with. So nothing would prevent somebody from having a deep connection without physicality.
Absolutely. There's actually a hadith, and I remember reading this a long time ago, and it even surprised me when I read it because of the way we're taught certain norms. But it went to the tune of something like, if there's nothing better for two people that love each other, that they should get married. And it's interesting how the love precedes
the marriage part
right. Of this whole thing.
And some people can love very easily before marriage, and other people cannot. It's a total personality type. Some people will bond and attach because their love language, the way that they express love and receive love, has nothing to do with physical touch. Yeah. While other people, it's a very big part of bonding with someone, so there's no way they're going to fall in love with before marriage. So when people ask me that question, does love come before or after marriage, I just say it really depends on you, and it depends on the person, how the person that you're bonding with accepts, receives your love to feel connected to you.
You also you practice law. That's your actual profession, right?
Yeah.
So what kind of law do you practice?
So I work mainly in the field of immigration and civil rights. That's what I do. And I've always been interested in public service. I've always worked in the public sector, and I'm totally grateful for the fact that I can do other things and that it's okay to do other things. And we should be not trying to live inside of a box, say, this is your one talent, this is your one way of being. We should be comfortable being in different settings. I think people are dynamic, and I know that just by having my platform, I think it opens up people's eyes to what Muslim women can do, but I want to be an example for what anybody can do, not just a Muslim woman, but anybody can have a very dynamic, full life where they get to express their creativity, get to express their love, their humor, and it doesn't mean it takes away from them being professional. Absolutely.
Do you find that your experience in law carries over to what you're doing now for the Muslim community?
Oh yeah, for sure. Specifically, the confidentiality is a very big one. Respecting people's confidentiality to a T.
That's a big no-no in the Muslim community.
Oh, yeah, and to a T, to a T, because so many people are scared to ask for help because they are convinced that the person they're going to ask for help is going to betray them. That's terrible. It also speaks to our family dynamics. When we are vulnerable, sometimes with our families, and we tell them we're struggling with X, Y, or Z, instead of comforting your child or comforting your sibling, instead you throw it in their face when you're angry, when you want to get back at them. And weaponizing people's vulnerabilities is exactly how you get to isolation, duplicity, where people are living one life. Someone call it hypocrisy. I think it's more like duplicity because hypocrisy is such a heavy word. The Prophet said if you call somebody a hypocrite, there's one of you who's a hypocrite, either the person who's saying it, right, or the person who's receiving it. So I'm careful with that word, but duplicity and living a lie, being stuck in a place of emotional consternation and frustration and suffocation.
Wow. So as someone that's crossed over now into doing entertainment for the Muslim community, which we appreciate, by the way, your material it's not just comical, and I'm saying this from my perspective. It's not just comical, but it's truth-telling. And that's something that, I've been a fan of stand-up comedy for a long time. And no, absolutely. And one of the things that drew me to comedy was the fact that there's truth that's being told in a setting where, or in a society where it sometimes is difficult to tell the truth. A lot of stand-up comedians, obviously, outside the Muslim community, would use very strong language in their comedy. So,
within the Muslim community. We've got practicing Muslims that use very strong language that's not family friendly.
Absolutely. But what is it like navigating that space?
To be honest, it's not easy. But I know that for me, a lot of the comedic geniuses that I know are telling truth. They are speaking about the most difficult parts, the secret parts of your heart, or the secret parts that no one wants to say out loud. And they're doing it in a very beautiful way that disarms the other person, that lets your guard down so you can hear it. A lot of times people can't hear the truth because they're so in defense mode. They don't want to believe this negative thing is true about them or true about society. But when you get them to calm down, reflect, laugh a little, you disarm them, and suddenly they're able to accept, oh, I can laugh at myself. And I think the Muslim community needs that. I think we need to laugh at ourselves a little bit more. We have a really hard time laughing sometimes. When people say, like, what's better, Muslim audiences or non-Muslim audiences? It's so non-Muslim audiences. Non-Muslim audiences are so much more receptive to me and to laughing. And I don't think it's just because they're drunk. It's because I've been in settings where there's no alcohol at all. But it's surprising to me that we need to loosen up a little bit. And I think a part of not wanting to laugh is being scared about being vulnerable. What I was saying before, because when you were vulnerable or you admitted certain things about yourself, maybe someone hurt you about that, and they threw it in your face and they made you feel small and insignificant. My hope is with my comedy that I can talk about really true things that make people laugh, take a moment, reflect, and say, yeah, it's okay if I do that. And then a couple can laugh about something. I make a lot of jokes about husbands and wives or children, and a parent can be like, oh my gosh, I know those kids driving me crazy, but I can laugh about it, and I can see the joy in it and not feel so alone or frustrated.
What's great about the online platform is that it allows people that may not feel comfortable or may not feel like they're ready to go to see a show, at least enjoy.
Yes, get a peek, right, into that world.
And still laugh, and still laugh.
And I would have never gone this video route had it not been for COVID-19. I believe I sourced COVID-19 into my life. Of course, saying that with complete respect for the people who've lost their lives, and it's been a terrible experience for so many. But I think that the person who is a true believer, who has Iman and the mu'min, is always looking for, what lesson can I derive from this? How can this thing actually elevate my consciousness or elevate my existence? Or perhaps, hopefully, the deaths are shuhada, they're all shaheed. So this is a great passage into the next life and transition, because we don't believe this is all there is. So just to say that COVID-19 has opened up my eyes to the fact that I could be in a video medium and give people that peek, so that they wouldn't probably go to a show. They probably wouldn't go to a show, but maybe they'd watch. Maybe they'd watch a video, like a 2-minute video. And maybe one day we can have, my dream is to have shows that are totally clean, totally family friendly, no alcohol, really fun. And it would be a way that families can really enjoy being with each other.
It's really important. And I think you and I had this conversation behind the camera, and that was, the American Muslim community is very creative.
Yes.
And we have to be, because we need these mediums to be able to, how do you take something and make it so that we can enjoy it the way we want to enjoy it, right? Without sacrificing our personal values.
Right.
And I think what you're trying to do here is really, really important. It's much needed.
Thank you.
Because laughter, and I remember this from Reader's Digest, but laughter is the best.
I love that you read Reader's Digest. You just showed your age. He's like, Reader's Digest, do you remember? I'm like, no, I don't. Just joking. I actually remember Reader's Digest.
Yeah, I mean, they had that whole section called "Laughter is the Best Medicine."
They do, and I believe it. Laughter is healing.
It is,
and I've had messages in my DMs like that. I didn't actually I'm happy that you mentioned that. My platform is one on relationships, but it evolved into comedy because I started doing stand-up on stage. And with the advent of COVID, I started doing the video medium, and then that made my page I would say, get a lot more traction. So people were like, oh, it's not all serious? Thank God. And so what I can do is I can make people laugh and then give them a dose of like, oh, and by the way, there's addiction problems. But let's talk about the fact that the husbands take out the trash, like, or whatever, makes it like some stupid joke. I always say, I have a joke where I say, a relationship is about give and take until it's taking out the trash. That's a man job. The other talents about being a lawyer that fits really well with giving advice about relationships or seeking counsel is that we are counsel. We're considered counsel, which means we give people advice. We try to give people all of the different scenarios that could occur. We try to run through those scenarios. It's part about being analytical, but also protecting and mitigating against risk that you take when you make decisions. But on top of that, mediation. Good lawyers are always looking for how to negotiate a middle path, a mediated path where both parties are happy and both parties can feel like they've been made whole.
Talking about mediation and talking about you coming from a background in law into now doing comedy, what advice do you have for our young people out there who are considering non-traditional careers, right? Entertainment, what would you advise them?
I've been asked this question, and I always feel like my mom and dad are always in the back, like, don't tell them anything. Only tell them doctor, be doctor. My parents are always like, we're going to kill you if you tell anyone to go into comedy. My parents even look at me today, they're like, why are you living your life backwards? You have 5 degrees, you want to be poor, hungry on the street, make a little joke like a clown, you want to be a clown? Yeah, they're okay. They're supportive in the sense that, okay, if you want to play around, it's fine, but like be a lawyer, stay a lawyer.
Well, which is the conversation a lot of people get to hear when they want to consider this.
That's right. Yeah. And I think that for the young people, what I would say is always do the thing that makes you happy. Always do the thing that fulfills your passion when you earn the right to fund that. And I know it's not like kumbaya, hold your heart, and you live your truth, and are you in your authentic self? Sorry, I'm a practical person. Yeah. I'm a practical person with a good sense of humor. But I earned the good sense of humor in the sense that I have to be able to live. So people, what I'll say to you, young people, get a real job to fund your dream job. And then if you get real good at your dream job, your passions will intersect with your skills to get you to really be propelled forward. But don't you dare try to go to your mom and be like, I'm going to be a poet. Sorry. Rumi's done. It's not for you. No, rahimahullah. Rumi's amazing. If you want to be a poet, you can be a poet. I take that back. If you want to be a poet, be a poet. But have rich parents.
Your answer is very practical. If you have rich parents, you can be Rumi. If you have rich parents, you can be Rumi. If you're trying to, go to school, if you're trying to get yourself, rent, you may need to think about a career in IT, a career in engineering, a career in accounting, a career in teaching. There's so many beautiful careers that give you a really nice, structured work-life balance, and then you get to make what you want of your life. Your creativity doesn't need to be in your 9 to 5. And your 9 to 5 doesn't have to be your forever. Stop trying to create these boundaries for yourself. Like, if I sign up to be a lawyer, I got to be a lawyer for the rest of my life. Nah, boo, you do not have to be a lawyer for the rest of your life. I say that to myself before I say it to you. I don't want to be a lawyer, past age 40. I just don't. I might still have to be because I need to pay the bills. But, that would be my dream. My dream would be to earn the credibility that I need and the skill that I need to get out of the thing maybe that is not fulfilling all my passions, but is meaningful work. I also want to say that too. You could be really passionate about something for a while and then fall out of passion with it, but it's still meaningful. It's still meaningful work. So that's why I say, forget the passion part, look for the meaning. What is meaningful? What is productive? Do that job. Hopefully get a paycheck, be a W-2 employee, do that job. And then maybe you can be an entrepreneur. And make hats or whatever. You know what I mean? No, that's very practical advice, and I think it's what a lot of people need to hear. Again, the difference between what we want to hear and what we need to hear.
It's funny that you should say that because my whole tagline when I was matchmaking for many years, I matchmaked for 14 years.
Wow.
I used to matchmake 55 marriages. Alhamdulillah later. I always just say that the key is when your wants and your needs are in alignment. And for a lot of people, the wants and the needs are not in alignment. And they need someone to come into their life and say, I know this is what you want, but this is actually what you need.
Who should that person be?
I feel like it has to be somebody who you respect, who is wise, and who you're willing to accept it from. And sometimes it's someone you're not willing to accept it from, but they're still wise, and maybe don't respect them, but they're still wise. And so you have to take a step back and reflect, okay, if the universe, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is sending me messages through people, it's okay for me to sit and think about that message. Not everyone's trying to get you. Not everyone's trying to bring down your vibe. Not everybody's trying to mess up your vibe, boo, and bring you down, no, I ain't on that. No, that ain't good vibes. Good vibes, if you get good vibes 24/7 from people around you, does that mean that they're looking out for you? Does that mean you're growing? Or does that mean you're complacent and chilling in your good vibe land?
So I have to ask you this question. Who is your favorite comedian?
Okay, that's unfair.
Uh-oh.
Okay? I don't have one favorite, Imam. I've got lots of favorites. At the top of the list, the GOAT of all time, it's Dave Chappelle. There's no question about it. Dave is a special kind of truth teller. He is a person from another time. He is timeless. So there's that. He's number one for me. But followed by some other comedians who I just really love their style. I really like Zainab Johnson. She is a Muslim comedian, a female that I got to tour with, and she's just brilliant. She's brilliant. When she speaks, she's so intelligent, she's so poised, and it's funny. So I like her. I also like a lot of physical comedians like Sebastian Maniscalco. He's a very famous Italian-American comedian from Chicago. He is fire. His whole body, the way he moves. I like Jim Gaffigan because he's just clean and funny and talks about donuts, so what's there not to like? I love it. He has this bit where he was talking about, this is my favorite joke of his. He has a bit where he's talking about how he works at a Mexican restaurant, and there's people come in, they're like, what's a chalupa? And he's like, a tortilla with meat, cheese, or vegetables. What's a taco? A tortilla with meat, cheese, or vegetables.
What's an enchilada?
And I'm like, it was like an aha moment for me. Oh my God, it truly is all just tortillas with meat, cheese, or vegetables. And anyways, those were Americanized versions, obviously, of Mexican food. Mexicans have a beautiful, deep culinary tradition. But anyhow, I like all of those comedians. I really like Melissa McCarthy too. She's got just a really great brand of physical comedy. And there's the greats like George Carlin, but his language, there's language problems, but everything he says is just laser. He's got a laser intelligence about him. Truth telling.
Yeah. I really enjoyed Dana Carvey.
He's so good.
He was one of my favorites
Master impressionist.
growing up.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
His George W. Bush impression was
so good. He has another joke where he's talking to his friends that don't have kids, and they're waking up, and he's like, after you have kids, you can't even talk to your friends who don't have kids. They're like, I just woke up, it's noon, and I'm still tired. I think I'll go get a Frappuccino. But the way he says it is just kills me.
Dana Carvey special. I remember that joke. Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. So you've also moved around a lot. What's that been like for you?
Yeah, so I've moved around as a kid because I was a political refugee here in the United States. So I'm an asylum seeker in the United States. My father was a part of the Gaddafi regime. But he morally abstained against him, so we're on the right side of history. But he lost everything as a result. He ended up basically leaving Libya, seeking asylum in Egypt. And he met my mom there, got married, had us, me and my brother. But unfortunately, after the Lockerbie bombings, things started changing pretty radically for Libyans throughout the Middle East, that they were being sold back. And so Libyans were being disappeared left and right. There's a really great book about it by Hisham Muttar called The Return that won the 2017 Pulitzer Prize. And it's actually Hisham's father who was unfortunately kidnapped, tortured, and killed later, we found out. It was his disappearance that led to us leaving. And we left that same week. And we trekked across the world to try to seek asylum in different places. We tried Jordan, our parents had tried Morocco, Saudi Arabia, the UK, and we finally made it to the United States in a really a kind gesture from someone at the American Embassy, a consulate officer who had mercy on us. and we made it to the U.S. And we landed in Lexington, Kentucky, which is the way station for Libyan refugees in the United States. You didn't know that, did you?
I did not.
No, you did not. It's like the Burmese here in Atlanta,
Yeah.
or the Somalis in Minnesota. Like, it doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? It's not even good for their skin. Like, I feel genuinely like that was a mistake. But they've built such a beautiful community. They've built a community where they're relying on each other. They're in a wolf pack. And so that's what they did. They just stuck together like wolves.
Wow.
And one of those wolves moved to Huntsville, Alabama. And my dad was like, yeah, I go with you. Yeah, I'm loyal forever. With you? Anything for you, Mustafa. And he just left and took us to Alabama in the middle of 6th grade for me. No attention to detail there. I died. We lived in Alabama. My parents still live in Huntsville, Alabama. And then I moved to Atlanta to go to school. I went to Egypt to pursue my graduate studies at American University in Cairo. Then I went to UCLA, lived in California, got my law degree. Then I moved out to Florida, and I worked in the federal courts and the immigration courts. I was an honors fellow. And then I moved to D.C. to work in civil rights. And then I went to Princeton. I lived in New Jersey to get my master's in public policy. I've lived all over.
So what
all
has
over the United States, all over the world.
What has traveling taught you about the world?
Oh, we are so alike.
Wow.
Humans are so alike.
It's funny because a lot of people would talk about the differences.
I saw the same kinds of hopes and fears. I saw the lack of control that we have in our lives. I saw the pain. I saw the love. I saw the joy. I saw the people helping the older people onto the bus. I saw people losing their children and them being devastated by that and just wanting a better life for them. I saw people aging really gracefully, and I saw people coming together as families to laugh even when they have very little. So I really believe that we are very much connected, not just at a cellular level, but at a spiritual level, at our atoms. We are very, very, very connected, and in a deep connection. Because I've traveled all over, I don't know the language, and obviously in all these countries. I've been to Austria several times. I'm trying to talk to someone, and we get each other. We're communicating, right? And there's obviously a little bit of sign language. It's not real sign language, and there's smiling, and there's comfort, and there's ease, and there's exchange. We're all very, very alike.
This is a question that I ask because of what you do in the entertainment side of who you are. Is there comedy to be found in tragedy?
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. There's books and films made about it. There's also just the reality of comedians. Comedians are very sad. If you meet enough of them, they're mixed up, they're sad, they don't know where they're going. They're human.
Yeah.
They're human.
Well, they're human.
They're human, so we're all dealing with our sadness, and we're all dealing with our tragedies, and it's just about how you navigate life. I think that the most expert comedians can take a lot of pain and make it into something really special. I know that, like, for example, people did not like this special, but I loved it. Chris Rock's Tambourine. I think that special is gold from beginning to end because it's his pain and he is bleeding in front of everyone and he is talking about the most difficult things and he's finding the humor in it. And you're willing to go on that journey with him and you're willing to cry a little bit and you're willing to laugh. That for me is the most potent kind of comedy.
So our viewers would kill me if I didn't ask, what makes you sad?
Oh man, so many things make me sad. The state of our world, racism makes me sad, classism makes me sad, seeing my children hurt makes me sad, mom guilt makes me sad, having problems with my husband makes me sad. Experiencing the human experience, seeing anyone suffer is really sad. But I think that through the medium of comedy, you can shed light on that and talk about that and talk about maybe who's responsible and who's skirting that responsibility. I have a whole joke I do about white privilege, about myself and being from Alabama and being an outcast there. And then through this whole storytelling, I might tell that in the near future, that story. It's a good joke. And it's a piercing joke. And it kind of got me the respect of a lot of the DC communities. So like, that white privilege joke, that joke is what they told me. So it's a joke that it's biting and it's about pain. It's about pain.
Wow.
of racism.
Yeah. Well, what's next for Yasmin Elhady? What's next for YasGuru? What else do you have on the
Oh
horizon?
man, the sky's the limit.
Yeah. We
are in endless possibility, don't you think? Can't you feel it?
Absolutely.
We are living in possibility every single day. A pandemic is a terrible thing to waste.
Yeah.
So we have a captive audience. And so we take advantage of the fact that people are wanting to be connected, so we give them that connection.
Yeah.
I would love to do something on TV. I have something kind of planned, an idea. I'd love to see it come to fruition. I'd love to, inshallah, I would love to, yes, by the grace of God, by the will of God. If it's good for me, it will happen. I would love to do more for Merry Mondays. I'd love to have Merry Mondays get bigger. I'd love to have a podcast that people can download, because I've had those requests over and over and over again. I just haven't been able to get it all together. But I think it would require some things changing in my life, like letting go of certain things, picking up some new hobbies, new talents. Yeah. And I would also, the big thing is that I just want to like explode the joy. Like that's the big thing that's coming for me. Like more joy to more people. No discrimination with the joy. I want it all over you. I want it to be like, oh, get this joy off. That's what I want. That's what I want from my platform.
That's awesome when you say this, and my role as an imam is really to come in and talk to people and try to find the spiritual connection to what they're doing. And what you just mentioned about you want to spread the joy.
Yes.
So the Prophet ﷺ actually said, the person most beloved to Allah is a person that can bring happiness to another person.
That's right.
And that is one of the things that you're engaged in through your platform. I know because I've seen it, I've laughed, and I know there's a lot of people that are getting that joy, that need that joy. Especially as you mentioned during this time of the pandemic.
Yeah.
We like to end the show with giving our audience some piece of advice, something that they can take right after they watch this and put into action. So when you talk about your journey and your career and your aspirations, what is one thing you would want to tell someone that's sitting maybe where you were sitting years ago in that position, wondering where they can possibly go with their life?
So you are capable of so much more than you think you are. You're so much stronger than you think you are. You are made of exponential light. You are the inheritor of God's love on this earth. Your job is to spread that love and to not let anything get in the way. And you live in dignity, and you live in happiness, and you will transform everyone around you. Your energy will be infectious. And the more that you sit in that worth, that one that was given to you by birth, the more you will be able to suddenly see all the blessing in your life and live in a state of gratitude, because gratitude is worship. That is living in a state of worship.
SubhanAllah. I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. This was great.
Of course, you're
It's a cool set, man. Who did this?
It is a cool set.
She's a woman that shops at TJ Maxx, and I like it. I'm the woman that shops at TJ Maxx. I would decorate it just like this.
Yeah, I think we should all shop at TJ Maxx.
Why not?
Why not? We need more TJ in our lives.
I need I need the pandemic to get away so that I can go back to TJ Maxx.
Excellent.
I feel like that those like sorting stores have gotten hurt, in this pandemic. But yeah. I love what you've done here. I love what you've accomplished, and to greater and bigger heights, my friend, of success and success not just here, but success that is full of sadaqah jariyah, of continuous charity, hopefully through your knowledge.
Alhamdulillah. Jazakallah khair. Thank you again so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And we will be right back with my closing thoughts. Here's a sneak peek of next week's episode.
If a book is sufficient enough in the eyes of God for creation to connect with the Creator, that means a book is very divine.
Wow.
There's something very divine about a book.
Our guest today made us laugh, but more importantly, she made us think. She showed us how we can use our life experiences to our own advantage. No matter what you've been through in life, there's always a path forward. The Prophet ﷺ taught us through his own life example that we may not control the things that happen to us, but we are in control of how we respond to them. At Seekers Institute, we help individuals find that path forward and recognize how to take control of their lives. So, now that you know, Seekers Institute can show you how.